Hey, what's up guys? Imagine getting reincarnated into a dating sim where you're actually the hidden final boss, destined to be defeated by the protagonist. You try to live a quiet life, however, on the first day of the academy, you're forced to reveal in front of all the students that you've reached the max level, 99. With that, and causing a commotion with your dark magic, the main character now has her sights set on you. This is the fun, wacky, exciting story of Villainess level 99. I may be the hidden boss, but I'm not the demon lord. So let's get started and watch the story unfold. But before we begin, just know this first part of the story is the prologue that follows the game's protagonist, Alicia. If you want to skip to the part where we follow the actual protagonist, go to this time or click the first link in the description. Alright, now let's begin. Alicia Einlight arrives by carriage into town, where she's newly enrolled into the Royal Academy as a first year. She spots a sickly granny, who she decides to heal using her light magic. But when she tells them this is her first day in the dorms, the granny's daughter hurries her because the academy's gates close at 6 p.m. Alicia runs as the bell tolls and trips right in front of the gate, where Oswald closes it and tells her school rules are no entry permitted after 6. The two exchange introductions, and we learn even though he's a first year as well, he's been helping weekly with school duties. Then, while proclaiming the rules are absolute, he tells Alicia she'll have to look for lodging in town tonight. Alicia gets upset because the entrance ceremony is tomorrow and tells him she needs to get into the dorms, especially since she doesn't have much money. While looking at her tattered bag, Oswald figures she must be the one commoner who was admitted this year. He does sympathize with her situation, but tells her to just give up, but she doesn't back down and begins whining. This is when Oswald begins pushing his glasses and tells her that just between them, there's a part of the wall on the eastern side that's crumbling, where students who break curfew often come and go from. This makes Alicia light up, and as they chat further, she learns Oswald is from the Grimsard family, and his father is a well-known cabinet minister. With Oswald softening up, Alicia decides to call her new friend Oz for short, which leaves him blushing. As she makes her way to the crumbling wall, she sees a boy named William already climbing it. He reaches out his hand to her, knowing she broke curfew too. As he guides her to the dorms, he shows her the drinks the older guys made him get as sort of a school initiation rule. They then continue their walk, he trips through one of the roof windows, and Alicia falls as well while trying to pull him up. This is when she crashes on top of Edwin Valschein, Will's childhood friend and second prince of Valschein Kingdom, leaving Alicia completely surprised. The principal scolds the two for all the trouble they've caused, but William tries to deflect blame on Alicia since he got distracted talking to her. But this doesn't stop the principal from confiscating the drinks. He then gives Alicia a warning since she was only admitted into the school with a scholarship due to her possessing the rare light magic, and both of the students are to be punished with extra school duties for a week. After they leave, however, the principal thinks to himself that Alicia's magic is the kingdom's last hope against the demon lord. Later in the dorms, Alicia sits in her bed, depressed over all the mischief she caused on her first day. She hears people outside shouting there's an intruder that needs to be captured, and when she peeks out her window, the faculty warns all the students to stay inside. Alicia is a little scared, but also relieved since the intruders are most likely targeting the other students, since they're all nobles. But she couldn't be more wrong, as she's alerted to some rumbling outside her window. She grabs her broom and begins to whack the mysterious intruder, only to have her mouth covered to see it's Prince Edwin. He explains there's stuff going on, but he can't explain the details, and peeks through the window when he hears the faculty still looking for him. He can't leave yet, so he asks Alicia to let him hide here. The two sit in the dark, and Edwin apologizes for burdening her. But to Alicia, this all feels like a dream, since she's never talked to a member of the royal family before, and the prince jokes, wondering if all commoners are as violent as her, giving the two a laugh. Then, with the coast clear, he takes off, wishing Alicia good luck at tomorrow's ceremony. The ceremony comes, and as Alicia walks, her new friends smile at her. All is going well, until she bumps into a menacing aura. But it turns out to be just a black-haired girl who knows her name for some reason. The girl asks Alicia if she's feeling well, then everyone takes their seats. The principal then gives a welcome speech, and then we turn to Edwin, Alicia, Oswald, and William facing off against the black-haired Yumiella. She shoots her black magic, and the party staves it off. Then, when Alicia counters with light magic, Yumiella gets blown away, and we see text dialogue where Alicia and Edwin embrace. On the other side, a girl just finished the otome game called Light Magic and the Hero, which features all the characters from before. It's your typical dating sim, where you play as the heroine at the Magic Academy who deepens her relationship with conquerable characters, and levels up to eventually defeat the Demon Lord. And after defeating the Demon Lord, the true final boss appears, which is Yumiella Dolkness, the villainess with dark magic that bullies Alicia throughout the game, which is actually now the same girl who was behind the computer screen, who, at the age of 15, is just beginning to enter the Royal Academy. She regained her memories of her past life at the age of 5, where she had got truck-cooned while attending college, and now reincarnated in the game world she once played. This kingdom was founded by the hero and saint who defeated the black-haired demon lord, and from that point on, black hair was seen as unlucky and even a symbol of evil, where even being born into a noble family, Yumiella's servants were always cautious of her, and she has no memories of ever meeting her in-game parents who live at the capital. With her doom impending, she lays in bed, wondering what the point of existing is, but remembering she should be stronger than everyone, she can't help but feel excited, because she doesn't have to end the same way as the original Villainess. She can instead lay low and enjoy a peaceful school life, and avoid all the game's main characters, so everyone can live happily ever after. However, she still decides to level up, just in case she needs to defeat the Demon Lord. She defeats a slime using her dark magic, and gets a magic stone she can sell for money. She then punches the air, noticing her lighter body after leveling up. Fired up with her gamer blood boiling, she was the type to fixate on whatever she was doing, so she snuck out of the mansion every day to defeat monsters and level up, and selling magic stones to make money, so she could buy an EXP boosting amulet. She eventually entered a dungeon and conquered it easily, acquiring a flute that could call monsters at any time, and day after day, she would farm monsters efficiently for XP until she turned 15. When she arrived at the school building, it looked just as it did in the game. Exhausted, she finally laid on her bed. She reads a little note from her father, telling her she needs to befriend many noble boys. That way, one would marry her and become an heir to their family, which she isn't too keen to do. She steps outside and watches Alicia be late to the 6 p.m. gate, just like the original game, and walks away reminding herself she needs to avoid those four to enjoy a peaceful life. At the entrance ceremony, the other students keep staring at her, most likely due to her black hair. The faculty begins assessing the students' levels, with Alicia first being revealed as level 1. Then, when William gets assessed, everyone cheers over him being level 10. Yumiella never checked her own level, but can only imagine after defeating the boss horseman, she must be way higher. She gets called up next and nervously touches the crystal, and everyone is shocked to see she's level 99. Well, time to say goodbye to her peaceful life. All the students began talking in hushed whispers about Yumiella hitting a level so high it's never been heard before, many mouths staring agape, while Alicia is a nervous wreck. Yumiella never imagined her level to be this high. The principal tries to calm everyone down by telling them this must be an error, so they bring in another level measuring tool and have her test again. But of course, there's no changes whatsoever. As the students continue to talk amongst themselves, the magic teacher asks if Yumiella knew her level was this high, all while she's thinking she can't keep her being the overpowered boss a secret anymore. She'll have to run and flee to another country. She then openly admits that she believes her level is correct. The blonde teacher then says there's no problem with the magic tool itself and accuses Yumiella of tampering with it, but she denies the allegation. The school faculty thinks she's lying, because in order to level up, she would have had to kill monsters, causing the students to all pile in on the lying accusation. How could this high school girl be killing monsters when none of them have? The principal quiets them down and tells them all Yumiella can prove herself when classes begin. He then has her give her introductions to the students, and she sits herself down. She couldn't help but think Alicia would have had the most attention since she's the commoner with light magic, but unfortunately, Yumiella stole the show unintentionally. The entrance ceremony is then followed by a buffet party, where Yumiella is completely outcasted by her peers. There's no one she knows, nor anyone who'd want to hang out with her, and to avoid any chances of standing out, she decides to leave early. As she leaves, William chases after her, asking what trick she used back there to fake her level rating, and she gets annoyed with this idiot pain in the neck. He calls her a disgrace as a noble, and begins insulting her, until Edwin interjects. Understanding how William feels being outshined, but also saying this isn't the right place to make a fuss. Yumiella then proceeds to politely introduce herself, but when Edwin hears the name Dolkness, he makes a snide comment under his breath, calling her a sensual wannabe. Edwin explains he's known William to have trained harder than anyone when he was growing up. That's how William reached level 10 before he even entered the school. So in the eyes of Edwin, Yumiella trampled all over his hard-earned achievement. Yumiella felt a little bad, but she wondered why everyone just assumed she cheated. Not that she can really blame them for being suspicious. She affirms a statement that she is in fact level 99, causing the two boys to gasp in disbelief. Then the third idiot, Oswald, appears just to say she should come up with a more believable lie. Yumiella knows all three of these guys are conquerable love interests in the original video game. Edwin, the magic swordsman and prince of the kingdom, William, the musclehead with a strong sense of justice and a short temper, and Oswald, the magic prodigy. Although the trio were very popular amongst all the girls that played the game, Yumiella personally never had any interest in any of them, and would also like to avoid contact with them so she doesn't trigger any of the in-game events. The prince tells her to prove her level 99 status, but it's clear to Yumiella he didn't think the idea through clearly. She doesn't want to make a bigger commotion, but she's probably so powerful she could easily destroy the entire country. She tries to deflect by saying, speaking of light magic, isn't there a commoner who uses light attributes? Look, she's over there! As she points to Alicia and tells the three boys that girl seems to be struggling to fit in with everyone as well. The three dumb f***s basically tell Yumiella they'll get her next time and go over to Alicia to hit on her. Back in her dorm, Yumelia's maid Rita asks why she's returned early. But of course, it's because there's no one there she's interested in spending her time with, causing Rita to scold Yumiella since Duke Dolkness wants his daughter to find a husband. Yumiella then asks about what it means to be what Edwin called her earlier, a central wannabe. This causes Rita to gasp, and Yumiella learns it's definitely something that refers to the Dolkness family line. Rita then explains the two types of nobles: central nobles that have power here in the capital, and regional nobles that have power over lands outside this area. A central wannabe is a regional noble who spends all their time here in the capital, even though they hold no power here, causing Yumiella to pick up that it refers to useless nobles who spend all their time goofing off in the capital, not doing any work, leaving their actual plots of land governed by employees. But Rita has no idea how to respond to the truth of how lazy Yumelia's parents are. On the first day of class, Yumiella found herself isolated, which she prefers since she can basically be a background character for the next 3 years. But unfortunately, with her being level 99, her hearing is max level as well, so she can hear all the students talking shit about her. Yumiella then notices the three simps hovering over Alicia coming to class. She notes that if this were playing out like the original game, Alicia shouldn't be this close to any of them yet. Yumiella wonders if the story's changed since she sent the boys to her. Alicia then notices Yumiella looking at them and gives her a nasty look, leaving Yumiella wondering why that is. We move to the first afternoon class, which was a lesson on practical swordsmanship, and even with a stone-cold expression, Yumiella is internally excited that she gets to hold a real sword for the first time. It reminds her of a toy sword souvenir she once got on a school field trip, an item any gamer would have wanted to have. The teacher has Yumiella and William duel to assess their skills, and with most of the students cheering on William and him psyching himself up, Yumiella pondered on how she could hold back from accidentally killing him. As the strongest villainess, Yumiella fought the fraud, the strongest student. She began to take her stance. William shrunk back in fear. Then Yumiella said, "Stand proud, William. You are strong," causing him to lose balance and fall on his face. The students and teacher were blown away, but William refused to accept his loss. However, with a tiny stroke, Yumiella sends him flying away. She picks him up gently, asking the teacher if she should take William to the nurse's office. However, the teacher tells them he'll do it, so everyone should practice sword swings in the meantime, with absolutely no duels whatsoever. Yumiella simply looks at her fellow students, and they all shrink back in fear. She thinks there's no reason to be. However, with the fact that William hasn't been chopped into pieces, it should be proof enough she was holding back. She then tries practice swings, which cause furious gales to blow against the students. The next class begins on practical magic. The test for students to use their magic against this practice dummy, that way the teacher can assess their magic skills. We learn that in this world, the 4 basic magic attributes are fire, wind, water, and earth. Then, as Alicia shoots her tiny light magic, it's explained that both light and dark magic are rare attributes, which causes the other students to praise her. Oswald then flashes his mastery of all 4 basic elements, causing the students and teachers to praise him alike as well. He then points at Yumiella to show how good she really is at magic, but she doesn't blame him for how she's about to embarrass him, considering he wasn't part of the class where she beat up William. Yumiella asks the teacher if it's alright to break the dummy, but the teacher explains it's impossible since Yumiella would have to be as strong as a palace mage. When she shoots the tiniest dark flame, Oswald mocks her. However, the teacher immediately stares in fear as the magic disintegrates the dummy into nothingness. Oswald loses it, witnessing the tiniest of fractions of Yumelia's power. The teacher tries to calm everyone down, since this was their first time seeing dark magic, which again is well known to be used by demonic monsters. others, but all of them are understandably freaking out. Oswald then runs away like a little baby since someone was better at magic than him. Then Edwin and the principal appear with Yumiella's official paperwork to be expelled, since the principal says those who lie are not fit for the academy. The principal states this will probably make her life in the kingdom difficult as well, but Yumiella nonchalantly tells them it wouldn't be so bad to move to another country. This is when the magic teacher pleads for Yumiella's case, since she not only wields the rare dark magic, but also destroyed the sturdy training dummy. Her expulsion would be a huge loss for the kingdom, and this is the first time someone is convinced Yumiella is actually level 99. The principal is still unconvinced, however, saying Yumiella will really have to prove it to him, and Edwin smirks at the idea of Yumiella's expulsion. This is when the magic teacher begs Yumiella to use her full strength, and with such a humble plea, Yumiella finds it hard to refuse. She then tells them she'll shoot her magic into the sky. She asks for Edwin's permission, because if something bad happens, she wants him to take responsibility. So he humors her, since he doesn't believe her magic would do anything. This is when she decides to use her strongest magic spell, the one only the Demon Lord and her could use in-game. And even holding back, the black hole shocks everyone as it sucks everything to a potential demise, with certainly enough power to kill everyone in the country. Yumiella retracts it and smugly gets down to ask William if he's convinced that she's level 99, which is so satisfying since we see him completely broken and screaming like a little baby. The day after she used the black hole, she was summoned to have an audience with the king. While she walked through, many of the subjects whispered about her black hair and use of dark magic, suspecting of her ties to the Demon Lord. She graciously presented herself before the king, but after she raised her head, the king apologized for the rudeness of his son Edwin and the mistreatment from the faculty at the academy. The other palace subjects gasped at the sight of their king bowing, and Yumiella began sweating, saying there was no need since she caused so much trouble as well. However, the king responds that dismissing her using only one-sided assumptions without first ascertaining her abilities was unreasonable. That being said, he still found it hard to believe a girl as dainty as Yumiella to be level 99, which is why he has the captain of the knights, Adolf, stand to judge her authenticity, since no one would question his judgment. Yumiella recalls Adolf to be the strongest knight in the kingdom, with a level of around 60. Since in-game, you only need to be level 70 in order to beat the Demon King, Adolf should be pretty strong. Adolf tells her out of respect, since she is max level, he's going to use his full strength. With it being so sudden, Yumiella is unsure if she should counterattack, but remembering she's supposed to be the hidden boss of the game, she decides to evade instead, which makes Adolf visibly astonished, as well as the king. He announces there aren't any knights who could evade that attack, and Yumiella was so calm, she had time to think about how she should even react to it, verifying her authenticity of being level 99. With everyone accepting Adolf's answer, the king requests Yumiella to demonstrate her magic, so she uses her Shadow Lance spell to summon spikes from the ground. The king then remarks the dark magic to be unusual and consults the head palace mage about it. The mage explains many think evil monsters use dark magic, but in reality it's no better or worse than any other magical attribute. It's all up to who's using it. However, it is extremely rare, which probably led many people to think dark magic users were evil. The king quickly comes to the conclusion that people's fears in dark magic is due to a lack of understanding, and feels it's also likely the reason people fear black hair for the same thing, causing Yumiella to be grateful since he's announcing it in front of everyone. That way the kingdom can be less afraid of dark hair and dark magic going forward. He then applauds Yumiella for excellence in achieving max level, and asks for her methodology. She tells them she didn't do anything special, just after earning money by killing monsters in her estate, she acquired an amulet of growth and entered the dungeon alone. From there, she played a monster calling flute and slayed monsters endlessly. Even though she didn't think much of it, everyone freaked out. Even the king was sweating. He asked Adolf if he could do the same thing. This is when Adolf explains only one amulet can be equipped at a time. A normal person would never remove an amulet of protection for Yumiella's EXP amulet, because protection amulets block fatal wounds. Adolf would be too terrified to call monsters if he were alone, making Yumiella realize she might be a freak in this world. The king then asks Yumiella to lend her strength for the kingdom, and as one of his loyal subjects, she complies. He wants to reward her with anything she desires, be it a domain or even royal treasure, or even offering his son Edwin in marriage to her. She thinks of the offer as very generous, but she's not interested in that dumb fuck, and can tell this is probably a way to keep her chained to the kingdom. She then lets him know her desire, to live a life of nothing but peace, and the king agrees, but at heart, Yumiella will 100% flee if the kingdom does anything she doesn't like. So, how did she end up in the queen's private chambers? The queen tells Yumiella there's no need to be formal, and whatever is said in the room stays in the room. But all Yumiella wants to do is leave. The queen can tell Yumiella is a type of person who hates having authority or responsibilities, but is also quite intelligent. Yumiella questions why the queen has so much trust in her, so the queen responds that most nobles pretend to be free of avarice in attempts to get close to their family. So knowing someone is genuine or has an ulterior motive is something the queen understands very naturally. The queen then explains the purpose of their meeting. She announces the coming of the Demon Lord 2 years from now, and she wants Yumiella to assist in defeating him. Yumiella is a little shocked. She had no idea the royal family already knew the Demon Lord was coming back since his defeat from the first king. The queen then explains her plan to group a small elite force led by her son Edwin, including talented students to be recruited, such as Alicia, which was something Edwin was trying to figure out back when he had hid himself in Alicia's room on her first day in the dorms. Yumiella agrees to help, but the queen apologizes because there's a caveat. The royal family must defeat the Demon Lord, otherwise their right to rule would come under question. She then smiles, suggesting Yumiella become a saint and marry Edwin, but Yumiella responds, "No thank you, so fast, it's like a reflex." She apologizes, but the queen is fine with it. The queen then explains the current problem is all the nobles will try to drag Yumiella to their faction. Basically, there's 2 factions, the King faction and Anti-King faction, where the Anti-King faction is led by Duke Hilrose, which contains all nobles who are dissatisfied with the current state of the kingdom, and central wannabes like Yumiella's parents. Yumiella quickly understands that her parents might follow the orders of the Hilrose family, but it's alright, because the queen has already prepared orders that'll prevent Yumiella from being married off, at least until she's done with the academy, giving her some time to figure out her family situation. The king and queen then speak privately, commending Yumiella's strength. Despite being estranged by her parents and shunned by society for her black hair, she doesn't hold a grudge against anyone, a testament to her excellent character. A week after being summoned to the castle, people treated Yumiella differently at school. Many students who were fearful began greeting her regularly, except Alicia still freaked out whenever seeing her. The trio of idiots even lightly apologized to Yumiella, probably due to a scolding from the king, even though they were f***ing in the wrong. The biggest change to Yumiella's life was the amount of marriage proposals she received, which she learned to quickly dismiss by telling her pursuers she only likes men that are stronger than her. Except the son from the Hilrose family won't take a hint, so she gaslights him into thinking he'll be executed, since his family might be looking to cause an insurrection against the current king, and he runs away like a little bitch. In the school hallway, she then runs into another child from the anti-king faction, Eleonora Hilrose, who in the game reigns supreme over all the girls in the academy. In the game, Yumiella tries to earn Eleonora's acceptance by doing mean things to Alicia. Yumiella was trying to avoid this girl as well, but Eleonora has apparently been dying to talk to her. She invites Yumiella to a tea party, and even though she wants to refuse, she knows it'll only cause more trouble, so she accepts. During tea time, we learn Yumiella never really had a social life and knew nothing about fashion or trends. She absolutely cannot do girl talk, but could maybe handle some idle chatter with her 3 sacred techniques. So when Eleonora begins talking about perfumes, Yumiella uses Tech 1, I see, then responding to the perfume creator's brand ideology, Tech 2, that's amazing, and finally, the perfume creator's first time ever making perfume, Tech 3, please tell me more. Wow. What great conversation skills you have, Yumiella. Eleonora finally gets to the point of their meeting, and it's to say she wants Yumiella to give up on marrying Prince Edwin, which wasn't where Yumiella thought this was going to go at all. She tells Yumiella to stop playing dumb, but Yumiella can't help but think Eleonora should probably be saying this to Alicia. She then explains she has no interest in the prince, and that Eleonora would be a better fit for him, causing her to light up and totally agree and babble on and spin around over her crush. The next day, while enjoying her lunch, some students asked to eat with Yumiella, but then Alicia appears, asking if Yumiella is the Demon Lord, which is something she wasn't expecting. The other girls become flabbergasted at the idea of Yumiella being the Demon Lord. They knew she used dark magic, but nothing else really indicated her being a demon other than her outrageous strength. Yumiella sat wondering how Alicia knew the Demon Lord was coming back, so Alicia explains Ed told her about it. That stupid prince. Did he really blab top secret information to Alicia? Yumiella asks if Ed told Alicia she was the Demon Lord. However, what he said to her was that the Demon Lord would be coming back in 2 years' time, but Alicia felt because of Yumiella's black hair and black magic, there was something more to her. Then the three idiots appeared out of nowhere to protect Alicia. Yumiella clears the air to tell them Alicia was saying the Demon Lord was returning, which is information that is meant to be kept top secret. However, Edwin just outright says it's true, so all the students hear, and William follows up by calling Yumiella the Demon Lord. But no, Yumiella is not the Demon Lord. She is the hidden boss, however. After all, if they know he's going to come back in 2 years, what makes them think she's the Demon Lord? William starts hard accusing her, so Yumiella gets up and starts to flex how powerful she really is, asking if they really think they could even beat her. This makes William shrink back in fear, remembering how she had beat him during sword training class. Yumiella then asks Aldwald if he thinks she's the Demon Lord, and he just responds, if that's what Alicia says, which makes it clear that he's an idiot too. But then he logically concludes that it would explain that insane strength of hers, which is something she can't deny. She tells them she's probably stronger than the Demon Lord, but that doesn't matter, because the three of them are too weak. If they did intend to defeat her, they would need to get much stronger. Yumiella gets up, ready to leave this conversation, but wait, this might be her chance to teach them how to level properly, something that her gamer blood makes her incredibly passionate about. She begins to tell the four of them the basics of leveling, which involves defeating monsters and grinding endless hours in order to level. They should be dungeoning non-stop to kill as many as they can. They should all stop wearing amulets of protection in favor of amulets of growth, which would double their EXP. Then use a monster calling flute to defeat as many monsters as possible, and to maximize efficiency, fight solo rather than form a party. Yumiella, who's normally not so talkative, blabbed on and on about the intricacies of efficient leveling, which makes the boys a little depressed hearing methods no one in their world would be brave enough to endure. Even Alicia couldn't endure the thought of hunting boss monsters and setting performance goals as if leveling was some kind of occupational job. But she was surprised to hear Yumiella tell her how important her light magic is, even emphasizing that she should spend all her time leveling in dark type dungeons to practice her proficiency. Yumiella was so proud of her explanation because everyone was speechless. However, the prince just shouts that she's trying to kill them all, making her wonder if what she suggested was too difficult for them. Edwin tells her they're leaving, and even though Yumiella offers to come along if they think what she suggested was too hard, the prince is determined to get stronger in his own way. Yumiella then thinks, well, okay, maybe Edwin's party isn't so eager, but surely all the other students would be excited to level more efficiently, but they weren't, and everyone became more wary of Yumiella on this day. She pondered why Alicia was so scared of her, thinking there might be a chance Alicia also reincarnated just like she did, so she decides to observe Alicia a bit more these coming days. Day after day, she begins watching over Alicia, but finds her theory of Alicia being reincarnated to be false. She's just a nice girl. She remembers from the game that Alicia is the cheerful, innocent type who enrolls in the Magic Academy so she can use her magic to help others. At first, she didn't understand noble customs, so she didn't fit in. Then the conquerable characters helped her out. As Yumiella watches Alicia pet a cat from a tree, she surmises Alicia is pretty much the same as in-game. It's her reactions to herself that throw her off. Also, she doesn't see Alicia with the other girls often either, but figures having the three boys around her at all times makes her hard to approach. She then sees Alicia decide to leave and gets ready to follow her, but first, Yumiella decides she wants to pet the cat, but the cat freaks out and runs away. This is the unfortunate side effect of being reincarnated as Yumiella Dolkness. Animals are severely terrified of her. She then spots one of her classmates, Patrick Ashbatten, staring at her, but he denies seeing anything. Yumiella tries to explain that it's not that the cat ran away from her. She could have caught the cat, but she would have had to use force. So, it's more correct to say she let it get away. Patrick just looks at her in silence for a few moments. Then Yumiella excuses herself since she has to continue observing Alicia. She spots Alicia on an upper floor, so she jumps up to it, gripping the ledge so hard it cracks. She spots Edwin helping her study, and wonders if this means Alicia has entered Edwin's conquerable route. She then overhears Edwin ask Alicia why she thought Yumiella was the Demon Lord, since his father told him she's not. Alicia then responds by focusing on a drawing and shows Edwin her impression of Yumiella, which is just an ominous black creature. This frightening monster is the only thing Alicia sees when she sees Yumiella, but after hearing Edwin's explanation, she concludes it might have something to do with her light magic, making Yumiella understand that Alicia reacts just like that cat did. But in any case, it now seems for sure that Alicia isn't reincarnated. We then transition to the principal's office because Yumiella had been called there, and were presented with Ronald, a new principal that had been employed by the king as an envoy to help support Yumiella. She asks where the previous principal went, and Ronald responds he resigned, aka he got fire. The two sit down to talk, and Ronald calls Edwin a troublemaker for announcing the impending return of the Demon Lord, since it was supposed to be a state secret. He remarks that Edwin wasn't always the type to behave so rashly, but recently he and his two best friends have been acting the same way. Yumiella asks if something had happened to them, so Ronald explains that Yumiella outshining them probably shattered their pride. However, with the students having an upcoming field trip, he wants Yumiella to monitor everyone during training. We move to the field training, where all the students gather to take dark monsters on together in order to level up. Yumiella just observes them, since being max level, she has no reason to show off her skills. She thinks back to Ronald explaining that she's in charge of watching the regional nobles, since they more often fight monsters in their domains away from the capital. She asked if Edwin's party would be training with the central noble. However, they're getting special training, which makes Yumiella very curious. As she watches the students rest, Yumiella can't help but feel the students are wasting their efforts on monsters that are too low level. She then walks up and utters the words, "too inefficient," and finds Patrick, who had said the same thing with her at the same time. He believes if they split the class into a vanguard and a rear guard, they might be able to get the students to take on more monsters, although the process is still more efficient than soloing monsters, which is something Yumiella continues to pat herself on the back for. Patrick mentions they have enough students to do this method, but probably not enough monsters to go around, so Yumiella uses her monster calling flute, making the students shriek in fear as the monsters begin getting riled up in the forest. Then, as the monsters go on the attack, vanguard students block, and the rear guard defeats the monsters using magic and archery. A demon dog begins attacking one of the vanguard, knocking him down, but Patrick saves him with a single slash. After the students defeat all the monsters, Patrick scolds Yumiella for summoning them without warning. She wonders why he's so angry with her. Is it because the rear guard is so exhausted that now the vanguard can't level up? She then tells Patrick there is nothing to fear, because even though the students have exhausted themselves, she'll hold back the monsters this time. Patrick tries to stop her, but it's too late. She blows the monster summoning flute again. She then walks over and powers up and stops the monsters using Dark Bind. That way the students can take their time killing them. Patrick tests this out and confirms Yumiella's method to be good, and even though Yumiella meant no harm, she still gave Patrick a headache having to keep the students alive. A demon dog suddenly jumps out to attack Yumiella, and Patrick jumps in front of her to block the attack. Yumiella then defeats it with a single punch. Although Patrick sustained a flesh wound, she decides to heal him, since dark magic also has healing spells, but dark healing is absolutely grotesque, something that Patrick isn't too eager to see. Patrick comes out completely healed and thanks Yumiella. She asks him why he jumped in front of her, and he tells her he was just trying to protect her. She thought that to be ridiculous, since she's the level 99, but he tells her to watch herself, since it'll be too late the moment something really happens. She thanks him for his concern and begins blushing. With her being the strongest, no one ever worried about her before. She felt kind of embarrassed. Patrick then tells her to mention when she's going to use the monster flute ahead of time, next time. She understands and tells him she's going to use it again, but unfortunately, Patrick is too late to stop her, leaving the students shrieking they just want it to end as they continue to train into the evening. The day after the field lesson, the principal gave Yumiella a warning about using the monster calling flute to overtrain the students again, even though I think she was completely in the right. The two continued their discussion about how dark magic also possesses healing arts, with Yumiella also claiming it can even regrow an arm. He gets nervous, wondering if she's speaking from experience, and she just casually replies, "Yeah, when I was a child, I sliced my arm off," making him even more nervous. But she recalls how close of a call it was, since she almost sliced her head off, and no healing magic can regrow a head. She then asks about how the Central Noble's lessons are going, and Principal Ronald answers he thinks Edwin and his friends are leveling, with William as the vanguard and Edwin and Oswald taking out any monsters he missed. The only issue being Edwin's party killed all the monsters themselves, and the other students can't gain any levels that way. Yumiella then asks about Alicia, but it's the same. She didn't kill even a single monster. She wonders if Alicia wanted to do more, but even though the report doesn't convey the details, Ronald suspects the three boys probably just wanted to show off in front of the girl they liked. But since Alicia has light magic, their country needs her to become stronger, and Yumiella may be assigned to assist her, which makes her excited to help as she envisions Alicia's strong advantage to demonic monster creatures with her light attribute. But Ronald only thinks of Alicia screaming in terror, just like how I'd scream in terror knowing you haven't liked this video and subscribed to my channel. Here at My Shoujo Weekly, we have plenty of villainous anime for you to enjoy. Come on, hit that sub, give me some love. That way, I can make more videos for you. I'd appreciate it. On another subject, the school has received a request from the castle's magic tool development team to test the endurance of some magic tools, and Yumiella decides to take on the job. Magic tools are exactly as they sound, tools that have been imbued with magic. Aside from the basics like weapons and armor, they also include things like the Amulet of Growth and Monster Calling Flute. Ronald then hands Yumiella the material they want to test, a special metal they want to make armor out of. It survived attacks from Knight Captain Adolf, but they want to know how well it fares against, and just as he's speaking, she straight up bends the tough material in front of him. He's disturbed at first, but wants Yumiella to describe just how much strength that took, but she honestly has no idea. Ronald tries bending it himself, and embarrassingly, it doesn't even budge. Yumiella wanders the school until Patrick approaches her. He learns from Yumiella that she was indeed scolded for using the monster calling flute, and he's relieved that she's possibly learned her lesson. Another student calls out to Patrick as their classmates want him to handle the next field lesson, making Yumiella notice just how much the other students trust him. Since that day the field lesson ended, so has Yumiella's school life of solitude and isolation, as Patrick comes by to talk to her every now and then. During sword training class, Patrick asks Yumiella if she'd like to spar with him, since she isn't paired up. The students stare at them, probably astonished in what he just asked her, and Yumiella feels there are plenty who would personally love to pair up with him, but he tells her not to worry about that since he owes her for healing him. She says, however, it's not a big deal since he could have just healed himself with a potion. So he goes, "Oh really? Guess I'll pair up with someone else then," leaving her to respond he should worry about it and partner up with her usually stoic expression. After all, she did heal his injury. This makes him laugh because technically she was the cause of it in the first place. As the two take their ready stances, Yumiella thinks that Patrick might be the closest thing to her friend since she's reincarnated here. It must be his natural virtue that makes everyone choose to follow his orders, and also his voice carries well for some reason. Yumiella found herself beginning to admire Patrick's traits and his character. As the two trade blows, Yumiella also thinks Patrick's swordsmanship is beautiful, unlike herself as she only relies on sheer power and reflexes. Patrick then goes for a mighty finishing strike, but Yumiella sends him flying away into the ground. She runs in apologizing and starts to heal him with her grotesque dark arts, and he thanks her, but isn't too pleased by how the healing looks. Yumiella continues to apologize, but Patrick tells her to stop, as he feels he might not be a worthy partner for her. She disagrees, however, as she wants to learn from his style of swordplay to improve herself even further, leaving him wondering what she needs to be so strong for. She says, probably the Demon Lord. But when Patrick asks if he's really coming back, she denies it completely. And even though Prince Edwin's dumbass has been telling everyone about the Demon Lord coming back, since he's been losing a lot of his popularity and reputation for flirting with Alicia all the time, people are now more likely to take Yumiella's word on things. Most of the students even think the return of the Demon Lord is merely a joke or just plain made up. But even then, the rumor that Yumiella is actually the Demon Lord hasn't exactly died down either, especially after summoning monsters with a flute during the previous field lesson. So she asks if Patrick thinks she's the Demon Lord, but he believes there's no way, since if she was, the world would probably be wiped out by now. True. However, Patrick is bothered that one of the reasons people think she is the Demon Lord is because of her black hair. His remark surprises her a little. He then explains when he was young, his hair was almost black, and it had always bothered him. It all started when one of his relatives said his hair looked blackish, and even though his nuclear family told him not to worry, he began to hate his hair after that. Yumiella tells him his hair looks more whitish, making his eyes widen because in comparison to hers, it probably would be considered that. But that's exactly why he admires how confidently she wears her black hair. He then says he'll promise to never look down on her or dislike her because of her hair color, which leaves her in a shock for words, blushing, meekly responding, thank you, even saying he thinks her hair looks pretty, which makes her look away, face still flustered red, but with her flushed cheeks. She asks for another match, like a child asking for another treat. So Patrick responds with another strike, but gets knocked away, landing completely knocked out this time. Yumiella heals him right away, and even with the magic looking disgusting, he still thanks her and admires her confidence in the use of dark magic. She lies in bed that night, reflecting on how she never gave much thought to Yumiella as a character in the game. She wondered if Yumiella in the game was also born with her dark magic too. In the canon lore, Yumiella obtained her dark magic because she gave in to the darkness, but the scenes were never clear about it. maybe the truth was actually different. Maybe Yumiella could have used dark magic all along, so she kept it hidden from everyone to fit in. She must have really hated the heroine, who was embraced for her light magic by everyone. But there's no point in thinking about that now. This world is real, and not the game world. A few days later, they began their second field lesson. Patrick warned Yumiella not to use her flute again, but today will be alright since she'll only be acting as their battlefield medic. As the students search around the lake for monsters, Yumiella sits down next to some potions, completely bored out of her mind. She's so bored she starts playing rock, paper, scissors with her own dark bind magic, all while using omnivision to watch the students train. One of them gets bitten by a fish, so Yumiella hurries to the student because she has nothing better to do. She at first offers her heals or a potion, but quickly takes the student's options away. Since she can heal him, they won't have to waste potions at all. She uses her puke-inducing dark heal to restore the student's wounds, and she's so proud of it, while both the students and teachers stare in shock. During break time, Yumiella can't help but feel the lax attitude of her classmates to be definitely problematic. Her philosophy to leveling is to push herself at all times. She tries to pull out the monster-calling flute, but Patrick catches it, reminding her she's not allowed to use it. However, Yumiella argues the current situation is worse, because all the students are skilled enough to handle the monsters she would summon. Thus, the difficulty of the lesson should be raised in proportion to their levels. Patrick can't disagree with that. She then says each one of them should be able to dungeon on their own, but Patrick 100% disagrees, saying that's too dangerous for anyone. However, she gets offended since that's how she leveled up. Regardless, their current method is still too inefficient, and the students need to face monsters at higher levels. But then she thinks of a new method. What if she just injured everyone with her magic and then healed them, making Patrick get taken aback at her idea of corporally punishing the students to make them focus more? She's even confident she can hurt them without killing them. Yeah, great idea, Yumiella. She offers the students two choices, the flute or injury, and everyone instantly chooses the flute. So she grabs the flute despite Patrick's wishes, and after blowing it, she realizes she forgot she was supposed to be more polite and ask permission first. As she stared at the students hunting the monsters, she kept thinking about how she's a little too overzealous when it comes to leveling. With her being a count's daughter, and Patrick being a Margrave's son, she technically ranks below him. So if she makes the Ashbatten family mad, her family's reputation as nobility will drop. Well, that's not really a problem for her, but the idea of Patrick hating her makes Yumiella a little sad for some reason. Yumiella takes note of Patrick using his wind magic to help his voice carry when he makes commands, and earth magic to keep his feet planted at all times. She begins to admire Patrick for being a genius when it comes to combat, probably even rivaling Edwin's entire party. After the battle, she comes to congratulate him on his leadership, but everyone piles around Patrick, leaving her no room to interact with him. Yumiella returned to the academy without exchanging any words with Patrick. She kept thinking that even if Patrick hated her, if things went back to the way they were before, it's nothing too much to stress about. She then gets stopped mid-thought by Alicia, who apologizes for assuming she was the Demon Lord the other day, because it caused Yumiella a lot of trouble. Yumiella stares at Alicia shaking. She knows she's terrified, but feels Alicia really is a nice girl. But Edwin butts in, telling Yumiella to stay away, especially after what she did during the field lesson, accusing her of summoning monsters in order to kill someone to make it look like an accident. Oh my gosh, this guy makes me so mad. I hate Edwin. Yumiella takes no offense, however, since the story he heard was probably exaggerated. But then he accuses her of plotting to injure the students, and then heal them in order to barter favor to make herself more popular. Even with her not being the Demon Lord, Edwin still thinks of Yumiella as dangerous to the academy, reminding her she really is an outcast in this world. She wondered if being here is even worth it, since she has no friends. But even if she ran away, would there be a place for her anywhere in this world? Then suddenly, Patrick comes in, telling Edwin to hold his tongue. It's true, she did use the monster-calling flute, but only to make the students take the lesson seriously. But even with her in the wrong, her methods are popular amongst the regional nobles. He even began praising her for her efficient leveling methods, which made Yumiella audibly gasp. Regardless, Patrick asked Edwin to stay out of this matter, and the two stared at each other in silence for a bit. Edwin agreed and took off with Alicia, and Yumiella began to stare at Patrick, feeling as if he was furious. He then turned and smiled at Yumiella, consoling her for how harsh Edwin was being towards her. She wondered if it was wise for Patrick to speak to the prince like that, or with Patrick being the son of a Margrave, being detested by the second prince is meaningless to him, since Edwin would only be slightly above in rank. Yumelia's hands began to shake as she asked if he was angry, but he's not as angry as he is exasperated, especially since it seems Edwin lacks awareness of his own royal standing. But Yumiella was referring to herself, not Edwin, making him mad. She then apologized for her impoliteness earlier, but Patrick thought nothing of it. He's not a big-headed central noble. He wants Yumiella to talk to him however she feels most comfortable. Yumiella is shocked since hierarchy is supposed to be very important in noble society. Is it alright to do things like this? But Patrick assures her he doesn't care about formalities. There are way too many other things to be worried about, which she agrees. She then asks if he was looking for her this entire time, and he explains he thought she looked a little bit down after the field lesson, so he got a bit worried. She then tells him she had a little bit of depression time, but she's all better now. She then thanks him for everything, and Patrick is surprised to see her beautiful smile. It made her question if she was smiling or not, since she doesn't usually do that. With them heading back to class, Yumiella left with hopes of being friends with Patrick, but maybe that was too much to ask for. The summer recess, aka summer break, has come. Most students return to their family homes, but there are a few who stay at school. Patrick and Yumiella are some of those few who have stayed behind, so they practice swordplay, with Patrick scolding her for being a little sloppy. Yumiella then re-preps her stance and goes in for another strike, only to send Patrick flying until he hits the ground. Whoops, she accidentally used too much strength. She runs over to heal him, and he tells her he's okay with it, since he's used to it by now. She apologizes for sparring with him even though it's spring break, but he's fine since he's actually the one who asked her to train with him. He wants to be tough enough so she doesn't send him airborne during class ever again. Yumiella then proudly exclaims she's been training to control her strength lately, showing him this metal slab meant for people at level 60. She's been practicing using just enough force on it without bending it. Whoops, seems like she accidentally broke it. Guess she still can't gauge her strength correctly all the time. As Patrick tries to test bending the metal with no success, Yumiella thinks to herself it was going so well during her solo practice sessions, but for some reason feels a little off with Patrick here. In the afternoon, the summer students have been doing independent study in the classroom, but really, there's nothing to do back in the dorms anyways. Yumiella gets asked by two of her classmates for assignment help, and she observes people have been approaching her more frequently as of late. The two girls then ask why both Yumiella and Patrick are always spending time together. Oh, I think we know why. But Yumiella just plainly answers, training to level up, with her usual stoic expression, and tells the two if they're interested, Yumiella can recommend some good dungeons for them, even use the monster calling flute to help with leveling, but the two girls nervously decline. Patrick tells Yumiella she shouldn't always jump straight into dungeon talk because she's clearly scaring the girls. So Yumiella uses her heightened hearing to hear some classmates whisper that Yumiella is like a wild beast and Patrick is like the beast tamer. Maybe even close like siblings. But Yumiella doesn't see herself that close to him yet. Inside the library, she becomes concerned that she's a bit too biased towards the use of magic. Watching Patrick the other day made her realize the importance of techniques involved in combat, as well as strategy and leadership. She at first thinks the best use of her time might be to just read every military-related book she finds, but finds herself surprised stumbling upon Alicia in the library as well. She tries to hide herself at first, hoping that Alicia is alone because she doesn't want to run into the other boys. Alicia walks up to her and actually wants Yumiella to teach her magic. The two sit down, and Yumiella learns Alicia doesn't understand her own light magic very well. Since it's such a rare attribute, even the teachers seem unsure how to teach her. There aren't many books that discuss the subject either. So with Alicia having heard that dark magic is equally uncommon as light, she hopes Yumiella would have something to teach her. Yumiella just stares for a second, but gladly accepts to do anything she can, and with Alicia smiling, Yumiella feels her glow. Alicia asks how Yumiella learned her dark magic, but of course, Yumiella can't explain she saw it in the game. She does also know about light magic from her time playing the game, but rationalizes it wouldn't make sense for her to know about things there are no books about. So she ponders how to explain. She tells Alicia, for starters, try envisioning a finishing move, and Yumiella lists a few she can think of, but Alicia has no idea what that means. Yumiella then asks if Alicia has any strong memories that involve using light magic, and when thinking about it, Alicia is reminded of seeing the starry sky with her grandmother back in the country. The place she lived was very rural. It didn't have tall buildings or anything, and because of that, the whole sky was filled with stars and was so beautiful. Thinking of those days made Alicia feel like her time now at the academy was just a dream. Alicia then gets up and thanks Yumiella because she's figured something out, and takes her leave, hoping to come back anytime she needs to ask Yumiella for advice. Later that evening, Yumiella continues her studies, only to have Patrick walk in on her. It seems he's brought her a gift from the Queen, as he had just come back from business there. With the gift being pastries, she decides to invite Patrick back to her room to eat with her. This gets him taken aback, and he blushes in anger, telling her not to invite men into her room like it's no big deal. She turns to apologize, and Patrick says sorry too for overreacting, with his face still flushed. They decide to eat together in the cafeteria. Patrick remarks the pastries are good, and when Yumiella replies, "They are, aren't they?" he wonders why she sounds so proud since she didn't make them. And the two girl classmates from earlier stare gushing at Patrick and Yumiella, just like I am. They're so cute together. With summer break ending, the season of the martial arts competition came. It's a school-wide competition event consisting of a sword fighting portion conducted in a one-on-one tournament format, and an individually scored magic portion. In the original game, Alicia stirs up the crowd using her light magic, but Yumiella doesn't participate. Powerful nobles come to watch this competition, so it's a chance for students striving to be military officers to show off their talents. Something that Yumiella doesn't want to get any attention for. Patrick apparently has no interest in the competition either, as he has no aspirations to join the military, and also has no desire for the prize they're offering this year. Yumiella lights up at the word prize, and learns the winner of the competition will be rewarded with an amulet that enhances dark magic, something that surprised Yumiella since the item is so rare she hasn't even heard about it. Patrick tries to say she doesn't need to get any stronger, but Yumiella wants it now, more badly than anything. She then takes off speeding, ready to enter the martial arts competition. She tells Principal Ronald to enter her, and that even if she hadn't learned what the prize was until later, she definitely would have robbed the winners of the amulet on an unfortunate night. However, she still believes even rewards must be obtained by legitimately winning the event. That's her motto, which surprises Ronald because he didn't believe she'd actually take the bait. The day of the event arrives, and Yumiella remarks this is even a bigger deal than she thought it'd be. Patrick had heard the amulet was given to the principal by the king himself to be passed along to Yumiella, yet they decided to offer them as prizes, which must mean the principal set her up, probably to use this as a chance to show her off to the nobles, the equivalent of a trip to the zoo to see the lions or a viewing of the military's latest weapon. The tournament proctor then calls the participants to the center, so Yumiella tells Patrick she'll do her best, and as he's about to cheer her on, he says, okay, but maybe hold back a little bit. They check the tournament board and draw places, with the students who are in the same bracket as Yumiella disappointed, and the students in a different bracket excited. William comes to her saying he heard that she stayed at school during summer break. He proudly pats himself on the back for training the entire break, telling her their match won't end like last time, especially now that he's level 20. And she wonders if she's supposed to be impressed or not, because yeah, she's still level 99. However, she's still curious about what methods he used to level, so she uses her 3 sacred implements of idle chatter. I see, that's amazing, and please tell me more. But William only takes this as her mocking him, and is so stupid he never catches on to the fact that she's just not good at socializing. He apologizes because he heard confirmation from Captain Adolf that she is level 99. That is someone he absolutely trusts. His dream was originally to surpass Captain Adolf, so beating Yumiella would be proof he's achieved it. But in reality, it's probably just bringing him closer to death. With the previous match coming to an end, it's Yumiella's turn. She looks at her opponent knowing there's no way she'll lose. However, for everyone else, this competition is a job hunt, so she wants to give the student in front of her a chance to shine. She needs to hold back enough to let the audience see his strength. However, she's certainly concerned about the durability of these swords, as a broken weapon is equal to instant disqualification. Most swords snap right in two when she uses them at full strength, so to figure out how much she can use, she swings the blade a little and it causes a miniature gust to blow at her opponent. However, she's now figured out how hard she's allowed to go, but unfortunately her opponent immediately withdraws. Not just him though, as she made it to the final round without fighting a single opponent. They all just forfeited at the might of her power. She observed William and Edwin's duel, with William coming out the victor. She knows Edwin is a magic swordsman, so fighting only with sword alone, he's at a disadvantage. It's the final round, Yumiella versus William. He won't back down as he wants to fight her fair and square. She's glad she finally gets to fight, since winning by default wouldn't have made her feel very good. William brandishes the great sword of Strodo, declaring it won't break like the wimpy wooden swords they used before. But all Yumiella thinks about is that it's supposed to be his endgame sword, so how did he get it? They begin with Yumiella evading strike after strike after strike, and she continues with ease, noticing he's running out of breath. After all, this is what happens to someone using a weapon above their level. William tells her to come at him, and she thinks he's right. It's boring if she's just evading the whole time. She needs to make it more climactic. When William goes for his next strike, Yumiella decides to parry, like Patrick taught her. But oh no, her sword is gonna break, and she'll get disqualified. So she uses her Yumiella punch to break his ultimate weapon instantly. As William stares in disbelief, Yumiella narrates that the technique is an ultra high-speed punch she can use that is so fast, people at low levels can't even see it. And with William's soul shattered, Yumiella is declared the winner. She's glad no one noticed, but Captain Adolf nervously stares, realizing she had broken the greatsword with her bare hand. Then came the magic competition, where participants displayed their magic in order by level, which is then scored by academy teachers and palace mages. Oswald comes to congratulate Yumiella for winning the sword fighting portion, but tells her winning the magic one won't be so easy, as she'll not only be scored by magic strength, but on types used and accuracy of the magic. Even though his level is lower, the fact that he can use the 4 major elements puts Oswald at the advantage. He also apologizes for doubting the fact that she really is level 99, but that doesn't change the fact that he'll never like her, as he plans to be the top mage in the kingdom, and winning this tournament is going to be his first step towards achieving his goal. And with the two saying they'll give their all, he takes his leap. It's Alicia's turn, and she displays her Sun Rain spell, which illuminates the arena to imitate the starry sky she used to see with her grandmother. She gets a score of 88 due to the spell's elegance, but also the rarity of the magic, which gives Yumiella hope that she'll score better because her dark magic is just as rare. We then see Edwin display his magic sword flames, and he scores a 90. Then comes Oswald, who displays magic earth cubing mixed with fire and water. The accuracy of this technique cannot be understated. His combination techniques are the works of a genius, and he scores a clean 100 points. A perfect score. He passes by Yumiella to say, no matter what, she can't beat perfection. But she's confident that if she scores 100, they can at least draw. Only, as she walks out, she's still unsure of what magic to use. She notices Patrick above the bleachers and wonders why he's so far away. Why is he not in the front row to watch her? Well, it's okay. She wants to do her best, so he can see it from there, which makes him jolt in fright and back away. Oh nah, he's in the back to run away if something bad happens. She decides to go for a power play, since she isn't confident in her control. She casts Black Hole above the arena, and even with the crowd gasping in fear, she's excited to see it since it's been so long since she cast a spell at full strength. Then she pulls it away before it causes harm, and brings out the sunlight, but suddenly the sunlight turns into pouring rain and darkness. She forgot the spell always causes a miniature typhoon, and the people scream at the fear of dying. But oh shoot, she needs variety. Should she use Dark Bind or Turbid Flow? The proctor tells her to stop and offers her 300 points as long as she puts an end to this. She's then crowned the victor in front of everyone, and is very excited now that her magic will be even stronger. Afterwards, Patrick asks if she really needed the amulet, so she considers showing him just how strong the amulet makes her while emanating her dark aura. Well, I think anyone could have predicted Yumiella would have won. Find out what happens next week by subscribing to my channel. For now though, watch this next video. It's me, ComfyTea. I'll see you all in the next one.